Well, hello again. Time for another yes or no question. This one is about Julius Caesar, Gaius Julius Caesar. And the question is, was Caesar good for Rome? An important question, I would say, because he certainly had a huge influence on it. Okay, let's get at the basic facts, the timeline. He was born 100 BC to a patrician family, and as part of the usual career plans for a young man of his class, he proceeded to go through the various offices in Rome to get ahead, the cursus honorum, the sequence of offices that he had to go through to eventually get up to the top to be the consul. In any case, he did that, and along the way, he was given the governorship of Spain, then the governorship of Gaul. This was the big part of his career, really. That was from 58 to 50 BC, in the middle of which, of course, he also invaded Britain. He viewed the invasion of Britain, I think, as just one more kind of side trip in his governorship of Gaul. And during his time, of course, as governor of Gaul, he not only waged a lot of war and killed a lot of people and so forth, but he also enriched himself because he was in debt, as one often was, the way things worked in the Republic, paying people off in order to get ahead politically. So what else is new? And he managed to kind of push it a little bit when he started getting opposition in the Senate, and he decided to march back to Rome to kind of assert his rights. And of course, armies were never allowed to get close to Rome because, for obvious security reasons. But Caesar overrode that and crossed the Rubicon, which is a river that theoretically no one with an army was allowed to cross to get too close to Rome. Anyway, he crossed it, engaged in civil war with Pompey, defeated Pompey, and became the dictator of Rome. By the way, being a dictator was not something new with Caesar. This was something that was often conferred by the Senate in times of great difficulty, in times of strife, times of civil war, invasion, and so forth. The Senate created dictators. Well, this is just another one of those. He had a little side trip to Egypt to pursue Pompey there, and eventually had his liaison with Cleopatra. Came back, and after that victory, he aggrandized even more power, and eventually, in 44 BC, had himself named dictator for life. Sounds a little bit like Putin, actually, in Russia. Anyway, that was just too much for a number of his colleagues who felt threatened by that. And so, as we all know, in the Ides of March 44 BC, he was stabbed by many of his colleagues and killed in the Senate House. Well, after that, there was further civil war within the Republic, out of which eventually emerged Octavian, Caesar's great nephew, and his, by the way, he is the beneficiary of his part of his will, and he then became the Emperor Augustus, and that was the end of the Republic, and we're on our way now to the Roman Empire. So those are the basic facts of Caesar's life. He was an astounding character with all kinds of skills, great orator, great writer, brave general, charismatic leader, political infighter, the whole works. Caesar was really the main man at that point, and what an impressive one. But of course, there are those who think he did a good job and those who think he was awful. So let's get to these arguments. Let's first of all start with those who say, yes, he was good for Rome. Well, of course, first and foremost, he greatly expanded the empire and the wealth of Rome through his conquests, particularly in Gaul. Of course, if you were one of those who was vanquished, you might say that that wasn't a very favorable outturn. But from the standpoint of being good for Rome, he certainly enriched it in the process. When he finally got to his point of being dictator, he initiated a lot of very socially minded projects in Rome. And he arranged for the expansion of the port to allow for more bread. He arranged for a lot of redistribution of land to his soldiers. He was somebody that really looked after the lower ranks a lot more perhaps than one might have expected from someone of his class and rank, and in the process may well have fueled a bit of resentment and opposition from the more privileged part of the population. Rome was a mess when he took over, and he restored not only a decent deal for the plebeians and for the populace in general, but he restored the solvency of the city as well, and he was basically a good manager and a strong leader. This reminds you a little bit of Salazar, who came in and kind of sorted things out financially. A lot of parallels here, by the way, with a lot of present-day rulers. Probably mention something about that a bit later. Part of his distribution of land went to the jobless of Rome, so he was kind of killing two birds with one stone. He was allowing available farmland, which had been expropriated from enemies of one sort or another, to the jobless of Rome. So he got them off the streets in Rome and got them to work, and even enhanced the food supply. So there was that was a move that certainly not only strengthened his popularity in Rome, but actually strengthened the well-being of the republic itself. He also instituted the Julian calendar, a year of 365 and a quarter days, the 1/4 day being the leap year arrangement. He introduced all of that. We still have it. So that's pretty impressive. Forward-looking chap. He realized that the calendar was an important thing to put right, because much of agriculture was built around the calendar, and so they had to get that right to keep everybody fed. So, Caesar was not only a great conqueror, but he was a man of personal skills as well. He was a great orator. He was apparently a charismatic leader of his troops. He led them in battle. He fought with them in battle, which is not every general was inclined to do. He was a great writer, and in fact his Gallic commentaries are one of the most famous works of Latin, one that every schoolboy starts with. Omnia Gallia in tres partes est unum partem quarum colunt Belgae. So all of Gaul is divided into 3 parts, of which one part the Belgae inhabit. And of course it was the Belgae that he encountered not only in the north of Gaul, but in Britain as well when he invaded. So those famous lines actually have a link back to us, just an aside. Okay, well, there was a man of many skills, and he put them to work for Rome, and that's why a lot of people think he was very good for Rome, and not only as a general and a man who enriched it, but a man who worked for the well-being of the population as well. Very impressive. Okay, well, let's see about the no's. No, he wasn't good for Rome. Let's talk about them. First, on a personal basis, and this would tend to offend perhaps a lot of his peers, he was very self-aggrandizing and looking to be adulated and so forth, putting his face on coins, that kind of thing. And he did award himself some triumphs. A triumph was something that a successful general was awarded by the Senate and allowed for a triumphant procession and certain celebrations and so forth. Well, he had a multiple triumph for a number of his accomplishments and held a series of games, including in the Campus Martius, created a lake and had a battle between two ships using captives to battle to the death, and it killed lions and gladiators and stuff. A bit over the top, really, in many people's view, and an expensive thing to bring off as well, and something that really offended people quite a lot. Next, you might say that he was a bit over the top in his military adventures. Plutarch, one of the famous biographers of those days, said that he engaged in 300 battles, destroyed 800 cities in Gaul, and killed 1 million people, enslaved another 1 million, and the other 1 million, I think, he either left alone or drafted into the army. So he was a man that left a lot of violence and carnage behind him. So, some would say, hey, that's what it takes to build an empire, but it was perhaps a bit more than one would like to think is appropriate or necessary. Next, he diminished the power of the Senate. He also packed the Senate by adding many more people, I think taking it from 600 to 900 with his supporters. So he was prone to be, in effect, a kind of a political bully boy. He bent the law, circumvented the law as much as he could, and in many respects that was quite a negative legacy of his, because one could say that the process of doing that teed up the ensuing civil war after his death and the creation of the empire, which itself was quite an oppressive and negative kind of development. Of course, there was some greatness associated with the empire, but it was by and large not an egalitarian democratic process by any means, and for that, he had a big part in making that new environment and killing the republic, basically. So those are the negatives associated with Caesar, and of course, many of them relate to the discomfiture he caused to a lot of his peers, because he was probably quite popular with the people. But nonetheless, he was a ruthless sort of character, and in that respect, one would not want to get on the wrong side of him. So there's some negatives in that as well. Okay, well, what's my take on Julius Caesar? Well, Julius Caesar reminds me of so many of the people I've been talking about in this series who came into an environment of political chaos, ferment, civil strife, and so forth, and decided to rule with an iron hand to sort things out. Much like Napoleon, Franco, Salazar, Mussolini, even to an extent Juan Perón. So this is a phenomenon that continues to take place through history, and of which Caesar was a very prominent example. He did restore the position of the city of Rome. He restored it to solvency. He got people the food they needed to eat, and so forth. So in that respect, he was doing a good job. On the other hand, he was a ruthless, self-absorbed, probably difficult sort of chap, and that might be a little bit hard to take. He was also prone to violence and bribery and so forth, so he had a kind of a mean streak as well. And I suppose Caesar's kind of sobriquet might have been, well, the ends justify the means, and as is often the case with powerful, hard-nosed leaders. So what's my verdict? Mixed. He did the job, but in a somewhat unpleasant way. Okay, well, that's Julius Caesar. Hope you enjoyed that. If so, the usual, please give me a like, subscribe, comment, look for a notification, and I'll see you with the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.